there, guys. Welcome to Dirt Road Believer. I'm in a hotel today. We had to be out of town during the week this week, so I'm coming to you from a hotel room in Macon, Georgia. I'll tell you about that later. But I'm Tina, and this is Dirt Road Believer. This is where you come for devotions. We lift up the Word of God, and we're all about encouragement and walking out this life with Jesus. So thank you for being with me today. We're continuing our series on leadership today. So I think you're going to want to grab a pen or a pencil because I've got a model that I want to show you. So if you're striving to be a leader or you're in a position of leadership, you know, as spiritual leaders, that can be the spiritual leader in your home, that can be a spiritual leader in any facet of life. And you've probably noticed that most of what we've talked about as far as being a spiritual leader also spills over into other secular leadership roles as well. So thanks for being with me. We're going to get to our devotion in just a bit, right after our video. So our video is about a book signing that I had this past weekend at Dirt in Somerville. So a big thank you to Dirt for hosting this event. It was a lot of fun and it was a huge success. My family and I were just so honored by everybody who came in that day and got a book and chatted with us and wished us success on Joey. So here's the video, and then I'll see you back right here for the devotion.
Entertainment.
The owner bought it just to bring
It was just an attraction. Well,
I wonder if we bought it from a circus that came to town.
I don't
Could
know.
have been.
The guy that the bar had it from a baby, so I don't know where he got it from. But it became more of a liability than entertainment, and so he had to get rid of it. And so my grandfather, who lived in Southwest Georgia, read it in the General Constitution and called the guy and went and picked it up. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm looking forward to
So
reading
this might be like for real. He was rough. But he's from the bar. What do you expect?
We're having a big girls' trip, right?
Yes. Well, that was the draw for my kids to come today. So as you know, if you've been following this leadership series, we are basing it on Moses, because Moses is really the first leader of a huge group of people that God himself mentors and molds as a leader. So we're looking at him, but we're also looking at other leaders throughout history. And so Moses is our foundation for leadership in February. Today we're going to get into some real practical steps that leaders have to have. You know, leaders, they are continually looking at problems and issues and problem solving. And we know that with Moses, the last thing we talked about him was every time he went to Pharaoh and asked to let the people go, and he said no, there was a plague. There were 10 plagues in all, and each time he was met with failure. He went back to God and was like, okay, I mean, what do I do now? And as leaders, you are constantly, okay, that didn't work, or okay, now we got here, but it doesn't look like we thought it would. What do we do next? So that's kind of what we're addressing today. And right before the 10th plague, where the plague on the firstborn, Moses says to Pharaoh, you must allow us to have sacrifices and burnt offerings. He's asking one more time, let us go. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened again. And then he tells Moses, get out of my sight. Make sure you do not appear before me again. The day you see my face, you will die. And Moses is like, okay. He said, I will never appear before you again. Moses knows that this is going to be the last plague. And I was reading from Exodus chapter 10. So leaders are born out of adversity. There are many people who are given the opportunity to be a leader, but then once they face any kind of adversity or trials, they step down really quickly. So it's a guarantee that if you lead, you will face adversity. Frederick Douglass said this, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Power conceded nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. And if you've never read the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, I highly recommend Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. His story is one of the most powerful I have read from African American history. Douglass survived horrifying experiences as a slave, and he had this incredible escape to the north. And God put a woman in Frederick Douglass's life as a young boy. It was the wife of his slave owner, and she started teaching him how to read, and she got as far as teaching him 12 of his letters and sounds when it was discovered that she was helping, and so she was made to stop. But by then, Frederick Douglass had this urgency to learn how to read, so he just picked up whatever he could from the white children in the neighborhood, because it was against the law for a slave to know how to read. And he taught much of how to read. He taught himself, and it was through the written word that he persevered. And he, with the pen, he positioned himself to be a leader through the abolitionist movement. He wrote abolitionist newspapers. He was a speaker, and he was just a powerful force within the abolitionist movement. He was also the first African American vice president that was nominated. He did not give his permission to be nominated, but he was nominated. And so it's stories like Frederick Douglass's that remind us of biblical examples. Think of Paul, Jesus, Moses, Elijah. Think of the church in Acts, that instead of being silenced by adversity, they thrived because of adversity. And I'm going to read from 1 Thessalonians 2:2, and this is Paul speaking. He says, we had previously suffered and been insulted in Philippi, as you know, but with the help of our God, we dared to tell you the gospel in spite of strong opposition. So, we really owe it to the early church, because even though they faced death, persecution, it did not silence them. They dared to tell the gospel of Jesus Christ in the face of opposition. So leaders are always going to accept lifelong adversity and have a plan in place to deal with it. So that's where we get to our little leadership model today. And there is a very kind gentleman who was nice enough to sit down with me for a few hours. He was the former CEO of Coca-Cola, so a brilliant leader. And he shared this with me, which is what I want to show you. You might want to grab a pen here. But he was of the belief that you are always you are always going towards a destination, and you're always problem solving. And so you'll see it's a circle model, which I really like, because a ladder implies that you've made it. Like once you get to the top, you've made it and you're done. This is circular, so it's always in motion. You're always coming back to the top here, which is, what is my destination? Where are we going? And this isn't just you. This is also, you remember those elders that Moses was instructed to surround himself with. This is not just you as a leader. This is you and your like-minded team of people. So what is our destination? And then once you've identified that, you come over here to, okay, how do we know that we have arrived at our destination? What's the evidence of arrival? And then what obstacles will we face as we are on our way to this destination? So identifying obstacles you may have. And then what are the tools and resources you have for dealing with those obstacles? So you see this progression here. So naming, listing what tools and resources you'll implement. And then the next one is the plan of execution. How are we going to get to this destination with everything we have, all the knowledge we have so far? And then the actual execution of this plan, working it out, doing it, living it. And then we come to measuring and evaluating. So once you get to this step, you're measuring and evaluating everything up until this point. And then you get to, are we at our destination? Maybe you're at the destination that you intended, but once you've come through all these steps, maybe is your destination the same? Maybe it's changed. Maybe it's a higher goal now. Maybe it looks different than you thought it did. So once you get back to destination, the process starts all over again. And you may have, as a leader, you may have 3 or 4 different areas where this model is being played out. But here's my favorite part of this model. Not only is it a circle, but look who is in the center of the circle: God. So in all of these steps, you're always coming back to God as the center. I heard someone say that they once worked for someone, and they showed them a model of the things that they would be doing on the job, and in the center of it was God. And they said, we don't put God at the top, we put him in the center, because no matter how we're living our lives, whether we're cleaning toilets or whether we're on the phone with a CEO, we are always operating around God. God is at the center. So I really love that. So I hope you enjoyed this model. I really love that and treasure, because it came from such a great leader. All right, guys, that winds it up for us today. Next week, we will be continuing on with leadership through the month of February. Also, some of you were interested in love stories. So if you want to get your love story fix, Valentine's is coming up. Head over to Dirt Road Believer Instagram. And there we are doing love stories past and present, where you can get involved. If you want to DM a picture of you and your honey to me with a little description, you can appear on there in the month of February. All right, that's it. Until next time, slow down. Take the dirt road, believer.